One of the most common questions that we are asked is, what animals do we recommend people buy when they are getting into the ball python breeding hobby? And the answer to this question is super complicated because there are a lot of different factors that go into it. For example, every individual person has a different budget and different resources that they're working with. Also, people have different goals when it comes to breeding ball pythons, and whenever you are looking at the market, there are different animals at different price points that are available at any given time. And altogether, these factors make the answer to this question really hard to nail down because my answer might not be the right answer for somebody else. So, for this week's video, the way we're gonna try to answer it is, what would I buy if I were getting into the ball python breeding world right now in 2025? So, my name's Steven with Leviathan, and let's get to it. Before we get to the actual animals, we need to give a little bit of parameters, and that is I am going to give myself a $10,000 budget for this video. And the reason why I'm picking $10,000 is I feel that with $10,000, you can get some absolutely incredible animals given the market right now, and the subsequent babies from those animals will rival the people who are leading the industry. And at least for me, I tend to jump into stuff with both feet really quickly. So again, this is going off of if I were getting into the hobby right now in 2025 with no animals, no equipment, but I still had all of my own preferences and my own experience that I'd be drawing from. So with all of that in mind, $10,000 is our budget. It is no surprise for any of the longtime subscribers of this channel that my absolute favorite morph is Sunset. So we're also going to be focusing on the Sunset project for this video. But given the current state of the Sunset project and given the current market, I don't think that you need to focus on just single gene Sunsets if you're getting in with a $10,000 budget. And instead, we are going to be actually looking at a quad recessive project with Sunset being the centerpiece for the majority of the animals that we are picking out. Hey Courtney.
Yes, my love.
If I found something on Morph Market, how much money could I spend before you divorce me?
Okay, see, I thought you said you were just doing a skit, but it feels like you're just asking me to get around it.
To kick off the snake portion of this video, we're first going to talk about the male, which is going to be the centerpiece of our project. And he is a visual hypo that is 100% double het for Sunset and for Puzzle. He is currently listed by Brock Wagner Reptiles at the list price of $2,750. So this boy is a genetic powerhouse, and the fact that you could pair him to anything and all of his babies will be 100% het hypo at the minimum, and they will have a 50% chance of being het Sunset and a 50% chance of being het Puzzle. All of this means that you could put this male to Sunsets, and instead of just making visual Sunsets with him, you are going to be making Sunsets that are double het hypo Puzzle. Or you could put him to Puzzles and again be making Puzzles that are double het hypo Sunset. And both of these different directions are going to be incredible, and they are going to be amazing ways that you could progress this project. But we are not going to be focusing on the triple for this specific video. Instead, we are going to immediately be going towards one step further and looking at the quad. So kicking it off with the females, the very first one that we want to talk about is a chocolate fire yellow belly desert ghost 100% het hypo girl that is currently listed for $850. And this female is a powerhouse in her own right, but paired to the male that we want, we could potentially be making visual hypos that are triple het for desert ghost, Sunset, and for Puzzle, and we have a ton of other amazing incomplete dominant genes. The reason why we're going with this approach is that we need to work those incomplete dominant genes in, but we also need to create our own females for our quad project, because we realistically aren't going to be able to buy quad het sunset hypo DG puzzle females unless Miguel of Always Evolving Pythons ends up releasing some, because as far as I know, he is the only one who has done a pairing for that. Also, even if he does release them, they probably would be way beyond our $10,000 budget, so it's going to be more cost effective for us to try to make them ourselves. Now, again, not all of the babies are going to be hypo triple hets, and even if we do get some hypo triple hets, doesn't mean that they're going to be females. So this is where genetic testing really comes in, because we are going to need to be able to identify exactly which animals we need to hold back and which animals to sell. And even if we don't get a hypo triple het, maybe we get a quad het. That is still an amazing animal, and even if we aren't hitting a quad het, maybe we're getting a really cool combo triple het. That might be perfect for us down the road. But again, the goal of these pairings is to get those quad recessive animals or quad recessive project animals. The next animal that we are eyeing comes from Justin over at Canova, and it is a leopard red stripe triple het hypo DG puzzle female, and this girl is listed at $2,000. So with this female paired to our male, we will potentially be making combo hypo puzzles that are double het for Sunset and Desert Ghost. The reason why this double visual double het potential offspring is so important is if we were trying to hit the quad visual later on down the road from quad het to quad het, the odds to hit the all gene quad visual animal is 1 in 256. And realistically, at that point, you are buying a scratch off lottery ticket in order to try to get your goals. But if we are able to come into that future pairing for the quad visual with visual triple hets or double visual double hets, we will have a much better opportunity to actually make the quad visual. All right, I'm not gonna buy it, but Brock put up that pastel yellow belly hypo puzzle het sunset male that I showed you on Instagram like 17 times.
It's always Brock!
The third pickup comes from Matt Byram Reptiles, and right now he has 3 Orange Dream triple het hypo DG puzzle females that are listed for $800 each. And I think of all of the animals on here, these animals are the absolute best value for the price. And fair warning, I may try to convince Courtney to let me buy one of these animals before we launch this video. But again, the purpose of these animals are the same as the previous one, where we are trying to make the double visual double hets later on down the road. But these have Orange Dream in them, which is a gene that we don't have in any of the other animals. So we are continually adding in different incomplete dominant genes. And then last, there are 3 females on this, because when you factor in this male to all of these 5 different girls, we are going to need a lot of eggs. We're going to need a lot of clutches because the odds are against us. We realistically are only looking to hold back maybe 4 to 5 visual triple hets or double visual double hets, or maybe a quad het female later on down the road. And we're also going to need a male that fits into the quad visual project. But what this lets us do is it gives us more opportunities to hit it, because we're not guaranteed it. And we are going to need to shed test a ton of babies for a ton of different genes in order to figure out what is the exact right animals that we need to hold back. But once we hold those animals back and we have it down the road, we are going to be in a position that is right at the exact same level that all of the leaders of the ball python industry are. It will just be in this one specific project, and we will not be overwhelmed with dozens, if not 100 animals that we build up throughout our time of being in ball pythons, as long as we stay disciplined. We will have these 6 animals, and then once they have babies, we will have those animals as well, but that is completely manageable when you are starting out your ball python breeding business. With all of the animals out of the way, this comes up to $8,000, not $10,000, but we have to have a place to house them. And given the idea that we know that we're going to have holdbacks from their babies, and we know that we always expand once we get into the ball python breeding hobby anyway, I think that it is best to go ahead and buy a 5540 for $2,295, which puts us just slightly over our $10,000 budget, but I think that that is completely worth it, and it sets us up to have room to grow down the road. So as we've been talking about it throughout this video, the goal of these animals is to essentially make building blocks for the next step. But the building blocks are going to be high-end enough that they are going to push us so far forward that we will be right there with the leading edge of the hobby, which is really, really important when you are working with the higher-end genes. It is so common that people buy an animal that they think is high-end, but the babies that they produce once it comes time for them to have babies are no longer worth nearly as much as what the original animal was, and now those babies have fallen into the pet range. So in my opinion, if you're going to be working on the high-end side of the ball python breeding world, you need to be shooting for as close to the leading edge as possible. We hope you guys enjoyed the video, and don't forget that next Wednesday we are going to be premiering the Redline Road Trip Bob Vu documentary that I am so freaking excited about. It is leading up to the Southeast Reptile Expo, which is going to be a blast. So if you're in the Atlanta area during Valentine's weekend, definitely come out and see us in person. But in the meantime, we will see you next week. They're only $800
each.
Yes.
How many?
So there's 3 of them, and we could potentially make hypo puzzles that are double het Sunset Desert Ghost if we pair them to Milo.
Actually, that is pretty cool.